Good evening, gentlemen. I have had a lovely week. I hope you have too. You may see that the beard is gone. Actually, you definitely see that the beard is gone because it is totally gone. That's not because I decided I didn't like it. It is because I was busy at Vacation Bible School as Captain America, and that was awesome. That was so much fun. I loved it. The kids had a phenomenal time, it sounded like. And then, of course, the teaching about the Bible and God. Vacation Bible School is called that for a reason. But anyway, it was great. I loved it. Really good time there, but a lot to do as well. So I've been a little bit busy this week. But anyway, that's been awesome. Back now to fairly regular kind of schedule, so we'll see how this impacts. I've had a thing that's been brought to my attention is that I always say, I'm about to start doing more videos now, or get back to it now, and then I say the same thing over and over again. You get the same lulls between there. I'm sorry. That is, it's not right to promise things and then not follow through with it. So, yeah. Anyway, getting to today's thing, this is something that has held me back a lot throughout life and continues to some extent, in different ways. Just at different points in life and just throughout my entire life for different areas of life even. It's just something that has forestalled or prevented growth, change, maturing, all of that. And so just to give you an example here, it's almost an extreme example, but also a mundane example. It's an extreme example in that it is a mundane example. And you'll understand why in just a second. When I was in middle school, whenever I would go to church, youth group, whatever, I would bring my Bible with me, of course. And I had it in a Bible case, and of course this was before everybody had Bibles on their phones. But anyway, I had a Bible case for it. So, you've got your Bible, you've got pouches for notebooks, pens, whatever. I used to draw stuff, which will never be shown to anybody ever. And that was just what I took with me all the time, every time. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not really using this. It's kind of just extra stuff. I don't really care for, the way it looks either. I just don't care for it, I don't want to keep bringing my Bible in this case. I want to just bring my Bible by itself, and that's good. And I wanted to do that for a long time, just ditch the case. And I wouldn't. And it wasn't that there was some reason I couldn't stop using it. It wasn't that there was, and this sounds so weird now, I realize. And it wasn't that there was, some obligation to keep using it. There was no reason. I didn't want to be seen not bringing the Bible case. And it wasn't anything about the Bible case either. It was because I didn't want to be perceived as having changed something. And it's common to hear about people who are afraid of change. It's very, very common. This was an odd thing. I wasn't afraid of the change itself. I was afraid of being perceived to have changed. And this is such a mundane little change that it would have been. That kind of shows you how deeply rooted this was and how just insane this fear was. It made no sense at all. There was no reason for it, no grounds for it. But I just had this fear of, doing any kind of change that could possibly draw attention to myself. Okay? Now, for something like that, it's inconsequential. Whether I bring a Bible case or I don't bring a Bible case is irrelevant. But that's what I mean by it's a mundane example, but it's also an extreme example that it would, reach so far to affect something that small it just doesn't matter. Another more significant example this time, years and years later. This wasn't just like a weird middle school thing. Years and years later, I had my first relationship with a girl. And, this is early 20s. This was much later. And I didn't want anybody to know about it. It wasn't because there was anything to be ashamed about, anything, wrong with it that I needed to hide or anything like that. I, you know, I was proud of it. To myself anyway. I didn't want anybody to know about it though, because I didn't want to be perceived as having changed course from where I was before. And it's not that I was on a course of singleness. Of course, I never claimed that I was going to stay single or anything like that. But just that, just that fear of being perceived to have moved forward. And it makes no sense at all. I still can't make any sense of it. I can't understand it. I've, obviously come to the conclusion that is completely stupid. It's dumb. But it still doesn't make sense to me. And I think in some ways I probably still am facing some of the consequences for that. Probably the biggest area that this impacted me negatively was keeping me staying inside of my shell as far as interacting with other people goes. And for long before I started to become more outgoing and engaging with people, I wanted to do that long before I started doing that. And I knew how to do it long before I started doing it. And it was the same thing. It was just this fear of the perception that people might be like, oh, here's this guy who's been pretty quiet and now he's opened up and talking. That, for some reason, that scared me. The idea of that idea being in somebody else's head. I didn't want to draw any kind of attention to myself. I didn't want, for some reason, those kind of thoughts to be thought about me. And like I said, it makes no sense. It's probably some sort of psychosis or something. I don't know. But I haven't heard of it before. Maybe it's just me. Or maybe it's really common and nobody talks about it, or I haven't heard anybody talk about it. But it held me back for years and years and years. I allowed it to hold me back for years and years and years. And I shouldn't have. And things might have played out much differently if I hadn't have. At some point, this has probably affected almost every relationship with any other person that I've had in my entire life. And I don't just mean romantic relationships. I mean, just in general. All, me and everybody I've ever known has probably had some impact on. As well as just my own ability to move forward, to mature, to grow up, to start acting as I should, doing what I should, saying what I should, building the connections that I should have been building all along. It's not good. And I wasn't, I was halfway aware of it. And I couldn't really see it for the system of self-oppression, really, that it was. And so I didn't, I was a smart kid. But even so, I didn't think to figure out how this is really affecting me, how it's really holding me back, and realize how much I needed to attack that and let go of it and get rid of it. And still, even now, there's some of that there. I can feel some of that in the back of my head, for sure. It will come up from time to time. And it's weird. It's hard to really tie this together and give kind of the conclusion, the happy ending, whatever, because it's not quite here yet. Things are so much better than they have been before. Getting up on stage, being Captain America, no way I could have done that before. Could have, wouldn't have. having, just doing everything I'm doing now, even stuff like this channel, doing everything I'm doing now, having what I have now, couldn't have happened if I'd continued to listen to that. And it was not just like a disinclination. It wasn't just like, I don't really feel like doing that. This was a deep-seated, real, to the extent that I allowed it to be, debilitating fear. I let it keep a hold on me. So, maybe you've got the same thing going on. Maybe you know somebody's got the same thing going on. I don't know. Maybe it just helps to hear somebody who's been through the same thing. I don't know. I never heard it. Never heard it from anybody else. Maybe if I had, it would have helped. Who knows? But anyway, that's my story. I feel like a freaking vlogger here, just giving the story, not providing anything useful. But you know what? Maybe there's value in that. I don't know. That's another thing I've been thinking about lately. Mark, followed him on Twitter for a while. Mark Bovair, I think his name is pronounced, formerly known as Mark Baxter, who I will probably refer to him out of habit as. But he made a point, didn't necessarily mean to, but he conducted a poll for himself among the people who are following with his stuff. That was kind of enlightening to me. And you know what? It kind of makes sense to just share the story sometimes. Show the weaknesses and all that instead of just trying to give advice all the time, But anyway. Might try some of that out. I am in this video. So, there you go. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope that it was insightful somehow. Hopefully somebody got something out of it. So, y'all have a good day. God bless you guys. Take it easy, but not too easy. I will talk to you later.